We just went to Lowe's and picked up a bunch of stock for the K40 laser cutter. I measured the size, or we'd get the best size that would fit on a 4x8 sheet of this, like it's kind of like a 3/16 1/4-inch plywood. It cuts really well in the laser cutter, and you can see I cut a bunch of it out, and it fits in there really nicely. If you're cutting a 4x8 sheet, it's best if you do 4 strips that are each a foot across, and then if you go 10 down, I figured that was just about the best yield you can get for trying to get the best size that fits best in the K40. The size of each one of these pieces is 12 by 9.5. On the end, you will have a bit of a smaller strip. You can see it's not quite the same size, but I was going for the biggest I can get with the least amount of waste, and this is a pretty sizable piece here at the end. You can use this for just about everything. I mean, I'll use this piece for a bunch of things. If you get a 4x8 sheet of this plywood from Lowe's, it's about $17, so it's about $2.50 for one of these pieces of wood. I use this 3/16 plywood for really about anything I'm doing on the laser cutter. If I'm building small little models, I can cut it out, and it cuts out pretty well. Or the second material I use probably the most is acrylic. Those two both cut pretty well on this laser cutter, and it gives a pretty nice finish. Here's a system we made for the K40 settings. For cardboard, we cut at 10 millimeters a second for 25%. For 1/8 inch acrylic, we'll cut at 5 millimeters a second at 50%, or 11 millimeters a second at 50%, and then do that twice. And if you're cutting this 3/16 plywood, which I'm doing now, I'll cut that at 3 millimeters a second at 100%. These settings can change depending on the amount of CO2 left in the laser tube. Depending if your laser is out of focus or in focus, it has a lot of variables. If the mirrors aren't clean, it might not cut as well. You can see after running that pass for a while, it leaves a bunch of sap behind from the wood. In order to get the size of the bed, see, it comes with this clamp and the laser cutter whenever you first get it. Obviously, I think it's basically useless. You never cut anything that's this size, and the clamp only opens up this far. Your entire print bed is about this big. It's pretty large. And the vacuum, like where it sucks the exhaust out, the exhaust vent sticks out too far. So in order to get the most efficient workspace, I just took this out. It comes out with a few screws. And then I ground this back so I have more room for a bigger piece of wood. And I think that, I don't know why they don't do that from the factory. I think this is pretty useless. I could see if you're cutting a piece of acrylic or something, it could be kind of helpful, but I don't know why this would extend so far. I think it's important that you're able to use the entire work. You can see how this piece just fits right in here, and it takes up a good amount of the space, starting from the end here, just about all the way over to the max. So this takes up a lot of space, and it works pretty efficiently on the 4x8 sheet of plywood. That's a few tips on just what I've learned on this K40. It cuts the plywood pretty well. You do have to do a few passes sometimes. If you run it at a really low speed, like 3 millimeters a second, I have had where it starts to kind of burn the wood. The air assist helps with that. It kind of keeps it so it doesn't do it quite as much. It does help, and I would definitely recommend it. So I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.